Hello and welcome everybody to another session of From the Shadows Born. With Brian, of course, and I hope you're all having a great evening. Brian, how are you doing, sir?
Very good, very good.
There you are. As Eric Eziel says in chat, hello and welcome back to another exciting adventure of Rudge Fights Fate. I don't know about fate tonight. Giant snake of death, yes, but fate, I'm not so sure. Now, as we before we start tonight's show, just as a preemptive, because I might forget next week. You never know. It is me. On the 1st of July, we won't be doing a live show. I will be doing something else. So on the 1st of July, there won't be a live show. But we will be back the following week, 7th of July, most probably, if that's what the date is, the following Wednesday. We will be back. So just bear that in mind. So 2 weeks from now, there won't be a show. All right. Okay. So brief recap. Brian, do you want to take us through the recap from what happened last week, just briefly.
Yes, so we were headed for the pier, trying to go take the ferry down the river, and we came across this stone bridge that was guarded by some crocodile-looking lizardmen type people, but they were pretty beat up. So Raj wanted to help them out, but he couldn't breathe underwater, and they said, "Oh, then go to our temple next door." And the stone gods that I think were a couple, by their embrace, came to him and imbued him with the power to breathe underwater. So there they are, diving into the water, he found his target and made some pretty successful acrobatics to get onto the creature's back, found out that the what was a dagger for the orc woman, more of a short sword for Raj, even though he is tall, but the size was quite different. But it was not just an ordinary dagger. It has some magical properties that would restore life if Raj had been injured so far. And then as we got into the battle, and as I was reviewing this, getting ready for tonight, I wanted to see if we could step back just a couple beats. The last action that Raj took was his Witch Bolt spell. He rolled again and made a failed attack roll. And I keep telling myself to remember, and I didn't until tonight. This spell, according to the description, is a beam of crackling blue energy that lances out towards a creature within range. And takes detailed damage. The key point is, though, that during this, on each of your turns during the 1 minute duration, you can use your action to deal damage automatically. So,
provided that you don't lose concentration. Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, we can backstep that one. I don't mind at all. So just add a little damage. Just roll. What is their damage?
Right. And that's just a 4.
All right.
Just a moderate amount of damage.
There we go. So yes, we sink back into the scene where the banks of the river have been stirred up. It's no longer this crystal blue, but now is a muddy brown as the massive form of this serpent-like beast has dislocated all of the mud and just really wrecked the entire place. Last time it was curling back upon itself, ready to strike at Raj. This latest witch bolt damage which you have done to it, you see, has actually ripped across the side of its cheekbone and has actually cut a strip of flesh off of it. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you're not entirely sure. But coiled back, looking rather unhappy with itself, it suddenly strikes forward. And I was about to say, what's your armor class? But I realize I have it on screen. So it strikes towards you, gets a 4, and misses once again, landing up on the beach next to you. One day, it might hit you, but I don't think it's today.
Those wonderful cat reflexes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ducking and weaving out of its side. As it lands on the beach, you can see that it's certainly very wounded. It does look as if it's taken quite a beating. But how much, you're not entirely sure. Swimming behind it is, of course, your one... one of the lizard folk who was assisting you in that water. And you can still hear thundering down the path, Alexi, "I'm coming, master!" he shouts as he also runs and then continues to run, the plucky, brave young lad, towards this gigantic snake. Behind him, Kinvar is thundering forward. But Alexi gets close enough to this beast to try and smack it. He swings his stick. He can't hit it any more than it can hit you. The stick bounces off of its scales and it doesn't even notice. Back to you. You keeping your witch bolt up, or are you going to try something different?
Yes, keeping the witch bolt. This will be number 3 of 10.
Yeah.
Only 3 points of damage.
It's every bit counts. This bolt is just slicing through, and you're seeing scales ripping off and parting, revealing this very pallid white flesh. This does not kill the creature, but it does seem to make it really, 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 really focus on you, as now it lunges yet again at you. Let's just... do that so at least it's facing the right direction. It lunges at you one more time. This time I get a natural 20.
Oh.
Have you got any tricks up your sleeve?
No.
Okay. Well, there we go. We actually haven't handled natural 20s yet, so yeah, no, all right. Well, we'll just do it as the book says at the moment. We'll come to this later on. Yes, it lunges forward. Its horrific dagger-like teeth bury themselves into you. Oh, lowest possible damage. And not so lowest possible damage. So that is a grand total of 13 damage. As its teeth just rip
just
into
enough
you.
to knock me out. That's all the hit points I have.
Oh, is that all you had left? Okay, well, there we go. It grabs you in its mouth. The world starts to go dark. What is Raj's last thought before he loses consciousness on a 0? Does it knock you to 0 exactly?
It knocks me to 0 exactly.
Perfect. What is his last thought as the world swims into darkness?
What will my father think that I haven't come home with his Alexandrite?
Nice. Okay. And so, yes, darkness does indeed consume you. Now we shall see the fate of Raj and company. Raj, would you like to now... Brian, would you like to now roll either for the lizard man or for Alexi?
I'll roll for my little friend Alexi.
All right. Alexi has a grand total of +2 to hit and does a whopping 1d4 +2 damage.
Okay. A 7 is to hit, so that's a miss again.
Oh yeah, he swings and swipes, doesn't do very much. Behind this creature, because most of the creature is still in the water, the lizard folk now tries to plunge his archaic weapon into the side of this beast. It didn't seem to do much before, but he's desperate. He's desperate. That's not going to hit. It bounces in rubberly, doesn't really do very much at all. The serpent, is it or is it not going to drop you? Give me a luck check, if you please. Roll a d20. And just roll above my number. My number is
9.
You beat me to it. I was about to say, my number is 15, and you get to the 9. So you are not lucky. The serpent keeps you in its mouth. Oh, my goodness. And here I was talking about 2 weeks' time. The game's cancelled. It's like... Okay, you are in major trouble here. The creature keeps you in its mouth, and now it starts to slide back into the water. It has its meal, effectively, in the mouth. You're on 0 hit points. You're not... Even Dungeon Fog's given up. Dungeon Fog's like, I'm out. I'm out. I am not going to be part of this slaughtering. So Alexi can make his attack.
Okay.
Go for it.
Let's try a different die. That one is a 12.
12 will do it. It's a big snake.
All right. And you said it was D4 plus 2, so that's 6 points of damage.
6 points of damage. It is badly wounded. He obviously jabbed that stick in between its intercostal ribs, and that causes the whole thing to kind of convulse. It rolled a natural 1. You get dropped on the side of the water, just on the bank, as the serpent is convulsing and it doesn't know what to do. The lizard folk, the lizard man tries to jab that obsidian, I think he had a spear, into its side. This is another D20 roll. We get a 19, which is a hit. Please roll a D6 for me for the damage of this obsidian spear.
All right. Rolled a 4.
4 plus his strength gets a 7, which puts us on 40 damage. The creature dies horribly around the spearman's lizard, the lizardman's spear tip, and that leaves you on the side of the bank. You are oblivious to all of this drama that has unfolded. Lexi continues to stab the beast for a while. But all is darkness and silence for a little bit. I would like you now, please, Raj, to give me, if you could, please, a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Six.
6. Okay. Now you can give me a Constitution saving throw, if you please.
That's
all
a 6
the fun.
as well.
Okay, so I'm using easy roller dice. I think I should ask them to give you some new dice because I'm not sure what is going on there. But there we go. So yes, okay. So that's that evening. Yeah. Okay. Next day, give me another Constitution saving throw, if you please.
Okay. That's an 18.
That's an 18. It takes a long time. And when you open your eyes, your head hurts like it has not hurt for a very long time. And when you breathe in, it feels as if you are breathing in thorns because everything hurts. You are on a grand total of 3 hit points.
Okay.
3 hit points. And yes, they see my desktop. Well, you can see what games I play. Sorry, folks. Yes, 3 hit points. And you are rocking gently backwards and forwards, lying on what feels like a boat. What you're lying on is quite hard. It's not a very comfortable bed that you seem to be in. But yes, that is the sensation that you feel as you slowly come around. What do you do? Next to you is Lexi. He's looking at you. Oh, you're alive.
Yes, I believe so. Where are we?
We are on a damn boat. That's what we're on. I want you to tell the boy that next time I'm in charge, says Kinvar as he's standing looking over you, quite cramped on this very tight little barge.
Oh, my friend, I'm so glad to see that you are here.
You are happy that I am on a boat?
I am happy that you are still by my side.
Well, yes, I suppose there is that. I am relieved that you did not die.
Speaking of which, what happened?
Oh, well, sir, I took the liberty of, when you had fallen, we slew the creature, but you had done the most damage to it. It was definitely only because of your attacks against it. But basically, once that was over, well, we didn't really know what to do. So I thought you wanted to go to Nexi, and I told the lizard man that, and, well, they escorted us here, and, well, I found Captain Samos, and he said he would take us to Nexi. The lizard folk have paid our way, I think. They said that they had taken care of everything. They also were particularly appreciative, and they wanted me to give you this. He holds out a very crude leather bag that's been stitched rather awkwardly together. And it's quite a... Yeah, it's quite a strange, quite a big round bag. They said it came from the temple?
I see. Well, let's take a look and see what it is. But just one moment. Let me cast some healing magic on myself. And I cast Cure Wounds on myself, since I still have a couple spell slots available.
All right.
And 1 is all I'm going to need. That's 11 hit points of healing. So that brings me back up to full again.
Nice.
All right, let's see what's inside
As
this little bag.
You open up the bag, there's a whistling sound from just near you, and it's one of those kind of whistles. Inside the bag is a very ornately decorated helm. It kind of looks like the kind that are worn by the city guards and actually not even the city guards. They don't wear something of this fine quality, but it is definitely Etherian in origin. Corinthian helm with, well, there's a place for a crest, but that obviously isn't around anymore. It does seem to be quite old, though. It certainly looks like you've got quite the grand prize there, my friend, says this rather tall and very tanned individual. He's got great big black curly locks, and he's standing at the helm of this boat, which is slowly making its way down the river.
Yes, hello. My name is Raj. May I ask your name?
I am Captain Samos. I am the one who is saving all of you and taking you all to the grand city of Nexi.
Oh, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to meet you.
Oh, no. I thank you very much. You see, In exchange for taking you to the city of Nexi, the lizard folk have guaranteed us certain, let's say, trading rights. So I will be making this trip a lot more now that you have come along. So you are a sign of good fortune, even if you were mostly dead.
Condition that is only temporary.
I'm very glad to
Yes.
hear that. Very glad to hear that.
Yes.
Yes. I must admit, we don't normally transport the horses. There's not a lot of room on this ship. We had to make accommodations. And I must also say, I think he bit my first mate. So perhaps if you could maybe do some of that magic on my first mate, that might be a little bit useful in terms of making the voyage that less awkward, huh?
Not a problem. Not a problem. I could do that. Yes. How much longer of a trip do we have?
Oh, we will be there by afternoon tomorrow, provided that the winds are fair and that the circles of nature are on our side, which I hope they are, considering how generous we're being in terms of transporting 3 passengers. But yes, by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. All right. Yes, about your first mate here. Let me fix him up.
You find him sitting near the front of the ship, and I'm not sure if you've had experience with the dark elves. I don't know. Do you think Raj has encountered dark elves before? They certainly wouldn't be anywhere near Vashti.
Not dark elves. He speaks Elvish, but not. I don't think he's had dealings with dark elves before.
Well, this one is sitting tending what looks to be rather a nasty bite to his hand at the front of the ship. He looks you up and down. I did not think you would be awake.
It was a very close call, but luckily we have 9 lives, you know.
I have heard this of your people, but I refuse to believe it until now, of course. That and your little slave is very attentive. He did not leave your side the entire journey.
That is very good to hear. Although he is not my slave, he is my companion.
Well, in that case, then you have a very good companion traveling with you. I would not make light of his friendship with you. That horse, however, I would turn into glue at the first moment you have a chance. I have never met such an obnoxious creature before in all of my days.
He is a very strong, physically and in will creature, yes.
It is as if he kept trying to tell me something, but I did not know. There is an intelligence in his eyes which belies his basic nature, I think.
Yes, he does speak to those who can listen, but unfortunately not all are able to hear his words.
I believe that if I could, I would probably choose not to.
But, my good friend, how is your hand?
It will take some many days to heal, and it has hampered my duties aboard the ship, if that is what you're asking.
Would you be open to some healing magic to help you?
If you are a sorcerer, I would not say no. Must I make a donation to the Circle of Nature?
No. As this was caused by my companion, my powerful steed friend, it would be my duty to do this healing for you.
That is very generous of you. He holds out his dark blue hand.
Okay. Cast Cure Wounds for 11 hit points of curing.
The wound is quickly healed up, and he looks at it This is quite remarkable. I don't suppose you would ever want to give up whatever nomadic life you have and come and work on our boat.
That is an interesting offer, but I think the life in the water is not for my kind. I still have other missions that my father has sent me on.
Fair enough, fair enough. I can't argue with that. And so it is, over the course of the next day, that the ship continues to make its way south. Do you wish to do anything during this time?
Well, after, if I can get a chance for a full rest, a long rest, I having taken a level of bard, have some new spells to help me out, namely identify. And I'd like to try the spell on the dagger.
Okay.
And also see if this helmet has also have some extra surprises.
What are the terms of identify specifically? Enlighten me.
So you choose the object that you must touch through the casting the spell. If it is magic or some other magic imbued object, you learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement to use, and how many charges it has, if any. You learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it.
Okay, so pretty much a full rundown then. All right, so you cast this on the dagger, and it's a curious mix of magic as you focus on this object and your senses start to peel back the relative realm of vision. Suddenly you start to see into the weapon itself, and the world around you kind of fades out. At first, the dagger appears to have some kind of necromantic power, but then it seems to shift into healing power, and you realize that this blade, when you strike a target, it will test to see whether you are a worthy warrior or not. If you are a worthy warrior, it will transfer some of the damage that you deal, half to be exact, back to you as healing.
Okay.
If you are, however, a poor warrior, a poor candidate, it will take half of the damage that you have dealt from your health.
Interesting.
As it only wants to be wielded by true champions. And of course, the test to see whether you are worthy or not is whether you have the constitution for battle. And so you have to make a constitution saving throw. On a pass, you gain hit points back. On a fail, you lose hit points.
Okay. Writing that down in my notebook.
The water slowly laps against the side of the ship as she sails through the marshlands, heading southwards towards Nexi.
And this helmet that was given to me.
Ah, yes.
Does this seem to have any special properties?
It too has a magical field around it. And it does require attunement. It has to be worn for a total of 24 hours before it will allow you to fully utilize it. Not only does this helmet provide you with a +1 armor class over and above any other armor class bonuses you might get, but when you have it on, it will allow you to see through minor illusions.
Oh, nice. Okay, we'll put that on and start the attunement process.
It's quite heavy because it's armor. It's heavy armor, and you reckon you'll get used to it. It has that very strange ridge, which normally would have had a crest in it. The crest has obviously long ago faded and fallen out. Alexei looks at you approvingly. Well, you're certainly starting to look like a great warrior. But perhaps we should... He looks at Kinvar. Then he looks back at you. Perhaps we should shave the horse to make you a crest, sir. I mean, it is normally made out of horsehair.
Let me think about that. I'm not in a hurry to shave Kinvar's hair.
The horse is looking at you directly with a... Yes, you sense that he may just try and eat everybody on the ship if a blade comes anywhere near his long, perfectly black hair. And so the ship continues to sail along its path, making its way very slowly towards the city or the port of Nexi. Eventually it does arrive at the port of Nexi. So if we look at the map here, you have sailed south and then turned to the east, and the city of Nexi looms up in front of you. It is quite a dramatic collection of low buildings, but a particularly large outer wall, and an even more imposing keep, which looms out like a very large tower over the whole thing. Its style of construction is incredibly robust, and from the looks of things, this would have originally been used to possibly defend against an army by the looks of things. To the north of it, several fields grow, various types. It looks like a strange pinkish fruit, which is on heavy, heavy vine. Not grapes, these are bigger than grapes, and the vines themselves seem more twisted and weather-beaten than anything else. That's to be expected. You are on the heath in this very swampy-like territory. The river flows to the south. It's not on this map, but it flows to the south of the city. And you can see why they didn't build up to the banks of it. The banks start to lose detail as it gets closer to the city and the more marshier ground. And after a while, Captain Samos says, "Okay, you want to go in to the city, I assume, through the north gate or the east gate? This is a joke. You can choose either gate. We're going in here in the south. It's just how far you want to walk, eh?"
I see. All right.
Have you been to Nexi before?
I have not been to Nexi before.
Okay, then I recommend, if you're staying here for some time, the Drake's Lake Inn. You cannot possibly go wrong. It's very nice. I happen to have a friend who may or may not own it. If you mention my name, he will probably give you a discount. I am a very loyal customer.
Would this be an inn that most travelers would choose to go to? I am looking for a friend that may be passing through here.
Oh, yes. No, it is, to be perfectly honest with you, the only inn in Nexi. Not a lot of people come here. It's mainly used by the locals, and it's very nice. But, yes, it is limited.
Ah, very well. Then that is where we shall go. Do they also have a stable?
I think so. I do think so. I don't have a horse, but yes, I think they do.
All right, I shall look for that. My good friend has been very uncomfortable. He is not used to traveling on a ship, so I would like to give him some better accommodations for a while. Yes.
Oh, yes. We have been equally uncomfortable, but it is no problem whatsoever. You will forgive us. We have a lot of cargo to unload, and will not be able to accompany you in the city, but tonight, if we see you at the inn, that will be fantastic. The only other advice I might give you is Captain Shinta, who is responsible for this port, this city. He is sometimes very difficult, very, very, very difficult to deal with. And Vortes, he runs the local Heroes Guild. He is, he was posted here because no hero comes here. There is nothing to do here. It is a great big marshy swamp. So that should kind of tell you what he is like.
That is Captain Shinta.
No, Shinter is the one who runs Nexi. Vortes is the one who runs the Heroes Guild.
Vortes, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You will probably find them both in the Drake's Lake Inn as well. It's a very common place to go, because there's nowhere else to go, really.
Well, thank you very much, my good sir, for your hospitality and for bringing us on this journey. I hope that your future journeys will be profitable.
And I hope you find whatever it is that your father sent you to buy or find out in this. Hey, come to mention that, I am a trader. You're a trader. What was it that your father sent you out here to buy or do or whatever it is?
Looking for a gem known as an Alexandrite.
Yeah. Pythios, that's where you must go. It's,
yes.
Yeah, they bring it, it is from the Elvish lands that, yeah, and it's not here. So, okay, not right. But if you need something, you find me, I will make a plan for you, huh?
All right, I shall remember you, my good friend. Thank you.
The boat sort of bumps against the muddy stoppage areas where you can see there was an attempt once to put out wooden docks, but the docks have slowly started to sink into the mud itself. And slogging out towards the boat are several fairly large, very mud-covered workers. You can see they've got poles across their shoulders to carry the cargo from the ship into the town. Kinvar looks down at the water, looks at you. You want me to walk in that?
Only as long as we can quickly get onto dry land.
There's a yelp and a splash, and Alexei has slipped and fallen in the mud and is busy pulling himself up, but he is completely caked head to foot in grime. There's a laugh from everyone else. Oh yes, watch your step. That first one's very slippery. He's sort of good-naturedly wiping it off. You realize that if I get dirty, you get dirty.
Yes, we will get dirty together, but I will make it up for you to make sure you have the finest accommodations this night.
Very gingerly, the horse steps off. It's like watching a 1-ton giant horse gingerly get off a ship as best it can, not touching the water, whilst having to sink about 3 foot into the water, and then very, very quickly, without creating too many splashes, try and ballet itself over to what it thinks is firmer ground, which is effectively to the east road of the west road of the city, village, town thing. Alexei has already struggled to drier land, which is only about 60 feet from where the ship was itself.
All right, let us find our way into the Drake's Lake Inn.
Covered in mud, the three of you approach this large city. Now, what you realize is, as you're walking through the gates, you're now here. As you're walking towards them, there is this large, very precariously balanced tower, circular. Once it was covered in a white patina of paint and mortar, I suppose, from the old style, with wooden beams protruding out of it, so that it almost looks like someone took a giant salt shaker, painted it white, and then stuck voodoo pins throughout it. And wherever there's one of these large pins, or large poles actually sticking out of the tower, there is also a large Romanesque arch leading inside of it. And you realize that this probably was a griffin port, where griffins would come to roost and then to be hired to then be flown to other parts of the kingdom as a fast form of transport. Vashti certainly has its fair share. But here, this tower looks as if it's about ready to collapse. There's very little holding it up. The posts, most of them hang at a slight angle, having been worked loose over a long, long time. There are certainly no griffins in sight, and most of the archways which would have led to their little nests seem to be empty. That's what you see as you walking in to the town. That's here at number 5, in case you needed to know. You walk in through the main gates, and it is a hovel of a town. The walls, again, once proudly white, with great big columns acting as the entranceways, now all muddied brown. Rain obviously has kicked mud up and dropped mud onto the houses. The terracotta roofs, which used to be brilliant in the sun, have now all faded and have moss growing on them. The road itself, you can feel, is firm and must have been paved, but now it squelches with mud, and the entire area has this aroma of ancient detritus that has been mulched into the mud, and it hangs fairly heavy in the air. It isn't raining, but it kind of feels like it should be, because it's such an oppressively damp space. Running around in the streets, you can see some kids, equally mud-covered, various races, mostly human, but every now and again you think you see an elf, or perhaps it's a dwarf, or just a short kid. They're all weird, running around. There are no stores in this street as you're entering until you get to the very corner, which is then a general goods store. This opens out into a square in front of you, and in the very center is an ancient column, and atop that column is an even older statue. Again, completely ignored. Time has not been kind, and the form on top of the statue, it could possibly once have been a female warrior holding something up in the air. But whatever that something is, seagulls have taken roost in it and have made nests all over it and sort of obscured the details, leaving just the general form behind. Sure as nuts, on the other side of that quad of the plaza, however, you can see a large tavern-like structure. It's actually one of the biggest structures here, and for lack of a better word, is one of the cleaner ones too. It's quite easily identifiable. The board hanging outside of it has got this golden drake emblazoned upon it. Although a little bit faded, it's definitely legible. And then above that, of course, is the grand keep itself, which looms heavy over the entire town. And that is where you find yourself.
Okay. Is this in the Drake's Lake Inn? Is there any...
It is, yes.
It is. Okay. Well, let's... did we notice coming in any fountain or anything that we could clean up a little bit before?
You didn't. You didn't. And at the base of this column in the center of the plaza, there is a little water feature, or there was a water feature. It's dry now, and you can see the pipes have all been strangled shut with bits of root and vine which have grown out of them, leaving this very dry, and there's some cracked dirt right at the bottom. Perhaps the stable hand at the inn might have a bucket for us?
Yes, let us go around there first.
Right.
Try to clean ourselves up a bit.
As you're walking across the plaza, several individuals, market stalls selling fish mainly, some selling rope, netting, that kind of thing. The average, usual kind of market stalls and things that you would expect to find are set up. But the people are not screaming and shouting at one another. They're just quietly sitting. Some are reading clay tablets, and others are basically just staring off into space as they wait for whatever it is to happen. But you get to the back of the tavern without a problem. And there is a stable lad snoring away, lying in some rather bad excuses for hay. It doesn't look like there has been a horse here for a very long time, but there is definitely a large and very, very dumb-looking cow standing in the one stall, and that's what this boy's job seems to be. Alexei wakes him up, and you realize that perhaps you don't need to wash off so much, because unless this youth is particularly fond of being dirty, whatever washing you do is going to make you far cleaner than anybody else in this town. Yeah, there's a bucket, there's water over there, he says, pointing at a bucket that contains this green water.
Thank you, good boy. And we are looking for lodging for the night, but first of all, I would like to take care of my magnificent horse friend here.
He looks at your horse. He's like, wow. I've never seen one like that before.
Yes, he is definitely one of a kind. Do you have a stall or two that you could clean up for him?
He looks over at the empty stalls with rotting posts and old dirty hay. Hey, you can have those.
And can you clean it up for him?
He looks. You want the straw out?
Yes. I will give you a gold piece for your trouble.
Sure thing, sir. I'll be right on it. He grabs a stick and then grabs the fork next to it and starts moving the hay aside, revealing ancient hay underneath, sort of scrubbing it and scraping it along. I expect a blanket, at the very least.
Yes, I was just about to ask you, Kinvara, what else you will need. I will get a blanket for you. Is there anything else you would require?
No, I guess. How long are we going to be in here? I'm not particularly keen on the locals.
I do not wish to stay here long myself. I will go and see if the friend I am looking for, Zil, has been here. And once we know of his whereabouts, we shall move on with haste.
You go and sort your business out. I'll look after this fop.
All right, let me just make sure that he gets a blanket for you as well. Uh, hello there, boy.
Yeah.
Do you have a good blanket for my horse?
He remembers the gold coin and you see his hand touching his grubby pocket. Yeah, I'll get him my blanket. It's fine.
All right, please take care of him. I shall be in staying in the inn. I will settle the rest of my bills there. Thank you for your good work.
Sure thing. Alexi looks at you. I don't know if I should go inside or not. I don't want to touch that green water either.
Alexi, for the moment, stay here and make sure that Kinvar is well looked after. And once I have taken care of accommodations and a good bath for both of us, I will come back for you.
Right, you are. You make your way into around the front of the Drake, and there's a man standing on the steps. Give me a perception check.
19.
You're fairly certain that this looks very much like an identical copy of Captain Samos, except he's wearing an apron now and a rather floppy hat. Ah, welcome, welcome. You have come here to my inn. It is such a delight to see some strangers arriving at my inn.
Yes, hello. My name is Raj. I was sent by Captain Samos. He told me this was the best place to stay.
Oh yes, Captain Samos. He is my favorite captain. He is very generous and kind. I will give you a discount.
Okay. Yes, what is your rate for the night?
You want a good quality room or a common quality room?
A good room would be preferred.
That would be 8 silver for you and young Alexi, and your horse will cost an extra 3 silver.
All right. How about an even gold piece a night?
Okay, it's a deal.
All right. Very good. And what is your name, my good sir?
Oh, I'm Amos.
I see. You would not happen to be of relations to Captain Samos, would you?
He kind of slouches down. Yes, of course. Well, it is I. I am Captain Samos. I cannot lie to such a beautiful face like yours. I only tried to deceit because, well, many people are not particularly happy when they realize that there is not a lot of people left in the Nexi.
I see. Well, you do what you have to survive. I will not hold that against you.
Well, that's very kind of you. So why don't you come on in? You have a choice of any room you like. There is, I don't believe anyone here. I haven't yet had time to talk to my wife, but I'm fairly certain that no one has stayed here over the last few days.
Interesting. That was the most important thing I wish to know.
Oh.
Have there been any unusual travelers recently?
Oh, well, give me one moment. And he goes back into the room and shouts out, Yanatos! Yanatos! Oh, hello, my beautiful slap! Ow! What is that? And then there's another slap, and then a pot, and then a bang, and a crash. He comes out to you again. So this is, no, she is very busy right now. So perhaps I will take you somewhere to see the sights of our beautiful town. And then I will ask very soon.
I would like to take. Alexi needs a bath. I do not. I need to clean myself up as well. We would like to do that first. Perhaps have a good meal first.
Huh. What would you like to eat?
What is your specialty?
Right now it is whatever. I will sort out something very nice. Don't you worry. Very nice. It is on me. I will pay for it. Don't you worry. He sort of looks inside. Why don't you go in first? But duck.
All right. So walk in, looking around very carefully.
You have advantage on your dexterity saving throw.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. That is fantastic. Going in cautious, you realize that there's a reason why he warned you. As you step through the door, there is this grunt and a very large and thankfully completely off target. Looks like it's a large silver pot bangs against the wall a few feet away from you. And then this incredibly round and rotund woman with fiery red hair lurches up and has a bottle of wine in her one hand, but held like a club. And she looks at you and she says, "If you think coming in here is going to make me forgive that no good layabout husband of mine, then you have got another thing coming. I shall use this to show you that 9 lives is not enough."
My apologies, my wonderful woman. I am not here to intercede on your husband's behalf. I merely wish to have a room for the night. And I have paid for this.
Immediately the bottle is spun around in her hand. "Oh, in that case, you're welcome to my tavern. I am Yanatos, and I am the proprietor of this very fine establishment. How much did you pay that layabout?"
1 gold piece per night.
And there are how many of you?
There is myself, my young friend, and also our horse staying in the stable.
"I will warn that young rapscallion to look after your horse with great care and attention. It is the first horse that has stayed here in quite some time. Very different from that creature last night. Very different indeed. Well, you are welcome to stay here as long as you like, of course, and you have the choice of rooms, such as they are. You understand, we don't get many visitors. Today marks, as a matter of fact, our 2nd busiest day."
And what was the first busiest day?
That would be yesterday, when we had a party of, they were elves, I think that's what they were. That and one very strange little man. But nonetheless, they paid. They had one of their elvish horses, I think is what that would be called. I don't know. Ate meat, so... But anyway, that is not the point. You want a nice hot bath, I would imagine, huh? And some good old-fashioned cooking. I can get us something rustled up for sure. That sounds good.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. I will look forward to your hospitality.
I have not yet cleaned the room that they stayed in. So any room except for the one that they stayed in from last night. But I don't think it would be very messy anyway. But nonetheless, there is a better room that they did not take because it was facing towards the keep.
All right. That would be fine.
Very good. I'll show you where it is now, huh?
All right. Yes, yes.
She takes you up a flight of stairs and down the corridor. Old dusty is the best way to describe this space. And where there were once perhaps a jar that contained wildflowers from the moorland that surrounds, it's now very dried potpourri, but mostly outside of the pot rather than actually in it. And you get to the very far end of the corridor where there's a room at the end of the passageway, and there's a room to the left. That's the room that they stayed in, she says, pointing to the one on the left. It doesn't normally accommodate four, but I don't ask questions. What happens behind that door once it is closed is entirely your affair. Huh? Yes, affair. Speaking of affairs, she sort of clouds over. She opens up your door. It's a very nice room if it was decorated last century. Very basic kinds of stuff. And you can see someone once tried, but it was a long time ago. And mud is still very much part of the decor. You probably want a bath as well?
I would like a bowl of water to clean my feet. My young friend, he needs a bath. I am not used to bathing in water myself. Cats do not clean ourselves that way. Yes, but yes.
What happens behind closed doors happens behind closed doors. I will have a hot bath ready for your friend as soon as possible, and I will get supper sorted out. And if you see that no good layabout of my husband, tell him that the next time I see him, I will cut his head off. Okay?
All right. How long can we expect for the dinner?
Hey, not the miracle worker. I would say probably in about, give me an hour. Huh?
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
She closes the door, and you hear the floorboards creaking under her weight as she disappears off down back to the main section.
Okay. Now that she's gone, I actually want to go back to the room that I'm guessing that Zill stayed in and his companions the night before, and see if they happen to leave anything behind.
Sure thing. Give me an investigate check.
16.
You're kind of looking around. It is fairly neat and well maintained. It has been cleaned up a little bit. You suspect that might have been the elves. There are two things that you find as you are scanning through. One of them is a white piece of bone, but it's been carved and used, and the edges are rounded. It's probably about the size of a tag, and it has a number that's been etched into it, and that number is the number 44. But what that could mean, you're not entirely sure. And then you do find the carpet is unusually damp.
Does it look like there's a color? Is it a blood stain or is it water?
As you lift the carpet up, you realize it is indeed blood. And it is quite, well, how old you don't know, but it is still sticky. And we'll be back next week when we continue our journey trying to find poor Zill, perhaps. Brian, thank you so much for playing today. I really appreciate it. It was a bit touch and go at the beginning there. I didn't expect that. No one expects a natural 20.
Exactly.
But you did get lucky. The first roll was a 1 in terms of the damage. So there we go. Any moment that particularly stood out in your mind today?
Definitely that moment was above all. Still the fragility of young Raj, going from just really killing it in the battle to all of a sudden being knocked out completely unconscious.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Yes, I think that that was definitely a highlight. Was that particular battle. Anyway, we will see you again next week, sir. So thank you for participating. For those of you that are still watching and still in the chat, I will take a not so long break because I actually have everything that I need to carry straight on. So we'll take about a minute and a half's break, and then I'll be back talking about today's session, what went right, what went wrong, and it does contain spoilers. So if you don't want to see spoilers, then I thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week. So yes, if you want to know what went through my head as Raj was dying, stick around. Anyway, everybody else, thank you and goodbye. Hello, everybody. It seems my clock thing stopped working. Who knows what happened? Anyway, there we are. All right, so that was an interesting one. So yeah, there we go. Got a little bit touch and go there at the very beginning, and so we shall see. Captain Price says, can you change the Raj black current model to better suit the one in the intro or the other way around? Yes, I can do that. I've got lots of things on my plate at the moment, but yes, I will update that. Now that he actually has the helmet and is wearing it, it now makes more sense. So I'm going to use the newer model because I think it looks a lot nicer than that other one. So I'll get there. It's on my list of many things to do. Absolutely. So there we go. All right. So obviously the big event in tonight's stream, for those of you that were able to catch the opening, was that Raj had technically been eaten by the snake. He was reduced to 0 hit points, not negative, but reduced to 0. Thankfully, the NPCs were there, and I hope that you noticed what I immediately did was instead of I could have gone narrative. But I kind of feel like that then is very much plot armor. Because if I had gone narrative, oh, well, you fall, darkness swirls, next minute you wake up on the boat. That really is GM plot armor. But I wanted to leave it in the hands of fate to a large degree. And it wasn't like it was going to be a certain death. I still kept one ace up my sleeve, but I immediately gave Alexi over to Brian so that he could roll for Alexi. So it wasn't like the player was now sitting back watching me just rolling random dice. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. If I do this and I go, oh, look, I got a 13, or if I do this, oh, I got a 13. I mean, that was a 6-sided dice. So, you know, it's all an illusion. So, just for clarity's sake, I do roll a d20. So by giving him the NPC, he was no longer out of it. So even if you were running a regular kind of game where you have players and you have NPCs, there's nothing wrong with giving the player an NPC and saying, okay, well, this is what you've got to hit, this is your damage, and that's it. They don't have any special powers or anything like that. We're not going to slow the game down because your character's gone down. Your character's gone down. That's an unfortunate. Here is allowing you to still participate in a certain way. So yeah, that's kind of the way that we went in that. When he went down, I was like, okay, well, we could do the wake up, and he's going to have a conversation with the lizard folk, and then they're going to go from there, and blah, blah, blah. It's so pedantic. We want to get to Nexi. We want to move on to the next point. And I think that that's something that we need to also be very careful of as GMs, is the in-between time. Now, I will never forget when we were learning about editing for films, and then later when I was teaching editing for films, it is very seldom that you see the entirety of a character's actions when you are watching a film. If the person is going into a building, you might see them walking into the building, and then you might see them waiting at the elevator, and then you might see them in the elevator, and then you might see them walking into the office of the person. But you don't ever see them walking through the reception, waiting for the elevator to arrive, then slowly getting into it, and then waiting an interminably long time as the elevator stops 5 times for people to get on and off, and then eventually. We just bounce straight through that. So that's I think something that we as GMs tend to forget about, is that we can skip time, and in this case, I think it was useful. We were done with the lizard folk. The lizard folk were only meant to be a bump in the road anyway. The real goal is finding Zill, and so I think that's what's critical here. Is yes, we just bumped and moved on. Now there is a question from Grizzles that yes, Alexi is planned to be a paladin. Absolutely, he's not a paladin yet. And until Raj starts investing in him, he's not going to really grow. I mean, he's playing with a stick at the moment. So I think that is something that we will look to see. Now, this is an interesting one. If you played Dragon Age 1, you had to equip your NPCs with equipment, and their equipment didn't automatically improve. If you were using a useless weapon at the beginning and you forgot to give them better equipment, you suffered majorly. By Dragon Age 3, their equipment kind of auto-leveled. Did it actually? I don't know. Maybe I'm giving the wrong advice here. But nonetheless, modern-day games, usually the equipment scales up with the characters, and you don't really have to worry about it because they're doing their own thing. Will Raj invest in Alexi? Will he take some of his money and actually buy Alexi equipment? I've made it quite clear, I think, and I'll keep giving him clues, that Alexi's fighting with a stick. I kind of feel like there should be a little bit of expenditure happening on Alexi. So we'll see about that. We'll see about that. But he doesn't have to. Eventually, Alexi will level up. And my plan is for Alexi to start to level up once Raj has started to level up, because I want Raj to be the hero. I don't want Alexi to be the hero. So when Raj gets to level 3, which is going to be once he's found Zill, then Alexi can become a level 1 paladin. So we've got a level 3 bard sorcerer and a level 1 paladin. So at least there's a separation, so there isn't that huge amount of there isn't a chance really that Alexi will outshine Raj. Sorry, brain flat. So there we go. That's something to bear in mind. Wait, where is it? There was a question about the helmet. The helmet was planned, says Inky Design. The helmet was planned insofar as I have based Utherios around a sort of Greco-Romanesque space as a culture. And they wear those Corinthian helmets, those lovely Corinthian helmets, or Spartan helmets, whatever you want to call that. But it's definitely a Greek style of helmet. And the original concept I have is that the character was actually going to be Utherian and from Utherios. So when Brian presented Raj from Vashti, I went, well, that's great. That's what the player wants to play. So there we go. But I still had this vision of this Utherian paladin or warrior or hero wearing this helmet. And so I wanted to give him a reward for fighting the snake. It wasn't the big gold reward for its lair that he could have gone swimming for. But I kind of felt like, well, you didn't really live. So, yeah, you're going to get a helmet instead. And then the properties of the helmet, I didn't realize he was going to cast Identify then and there. But he did, and so he got the properties of that helmet, which is an armor class boost because he's a sorcerer bard. I think he needs all the help that he can get in terms of his armor class going up. So that's where that came from. The town, I think, is fairly obvious. That was made in Watabo's city generator, map city generator. And yeah, so that's where that map came from. I was quite happy with it until Deos releases its city map maker. This is an quick and easy. I went in, clicked a couple buttons, and randomly made the city, which I think is perfectly fine. Or the town. I don't know why I keep calling it a city. It's a town of Nexi. So there we are. Captain Price says, do you wish to know the story of Theo the Arbiter and Grizzles the Babel Golem? If yes, join us in Discord chat. If not, will you still join us? Captain Price says, one day I will join you. But I have to say, to be honest with you, I really enjoy running games, and I kind of get like this energy, this rush after running them. And yeah, it's been a tough day today. Let me tell you, it has been a tough day. Okay, so Spirit Wolf 13 says, Raj doesn't seem to know that his friend sold his equipment for the horse and the mule. How will he notice his friend needs equipment? That's a good question, Spirit Wolf. And yes, I think that I do need to drive it home more. You know, I have my rule. It's 5 clues. So far, I've given him 3. But in his defense, those 3 have been spread out over the sessions, so they haven't been in a single session. I think what I will do is, in the next episode, if I remember, we'll have Alexi wandering through a stall in the market that sells equipment and sort of looking at the equipment fondly, but not actually, be able to buy it because he doesn't have any money. He's got nothing. And maybe that'll prompt Raj to do something. I honestly believe, I don't think it's because Raj is not wanting to buy him stuff. I think he, as you point out, he doesn't actually know that he doesn't have anything. Although I did say he's beating him with a stick. So there you are. I don't see any other questions coming through. Samos, the captain, being on the barge, and then the captain also owning the tavern. That was just a bit of humor that I injected. Of course, the angry wife, I channeled my own uncle, who's Italian and has a tendency to flare up in loud volume, so I apologize if I know I over modulated. But yes, the idea of the first mate calling him slave, was that intentional? Yes, absolutely intentional. I want there to be, until Alexi is well equipped, people will look and see there is this finely attired tabaxi and a young human male who's basically wearing a tunic. I think that's how I described him, tunic and sandals. That's the attire of a slave, for public anyway. So why wouldn't he be the slave of this rich tabaxi? So there we go. Yeah. AK Writer says, how was your Star Wars game last Friday? It was a real treat. It really was a pleasure to do it. We spent the first hour, because we played for 3 hours, we spent the first hour on technical setup. That was on me, but it's how it goes when you're running an online game. You've got to set up volume and cameras and all that kind of stuff. So we went through that, and then we played for 2 hours, and I think it was a lot of fun. I think it was a lot of fun. I think everyone was like, whoa, there's a lot going on. There's this happening, there's that happening. Yeah, it's always fun, when you get a new bunch of people around the table who've never role played together before. It's interesting to see how everyone kind of assesses how things work out. And today I've started writing the second chapter of the new book, which is how to create a good character. And it's so interesting when you look at all of the social stuff that goes into role playing. It's absolutely a phenomenal hobby. It really is. To pick up on other people's cues and it's absolutely brilliant. It really is brilliant. So we will be releasing those onto YouTube as and when they become ready. We only play every second week. So I'm trying to think about I'm trying to think about how we release them so that they are enjoyable for you guys to watch as well, because I think they're going to be a bit fun. I think you're going to be a bit fun. Okay, so Luke Andrews says, are you enjoying GMing this series still? The one-on-one series? Yes, it is a lot of fun. It is a very different experience. If you haven't done a one-on-one game, then it's difficult to appreciate how different it is from working with a party. In working with a party, you as the GM are watching the story unfold that they are creating. And that might be that they're creating it with intention, or it might be that they are creating it without intention, and that it's their misinterpretation of what you've said, and it's their hopes and dreams. So it's really a collaborative space where the GM has a lot less to do. Here in one-on-one, I am really, really driving the narrative. And it's not because Brian is a bad player or because Brian is not engaging. He is. But I think he wants to know the story as well. So the way that he's going about it is, I think, the only way that he could. I mean, quite literally, as the player, he's faced with two choices. Either he follows along where the plot hook seems to be pointing, or he goes off on his own. And I think he's got a lot of meta pressure on him as the player. If he goes off on his own, what am I as the GM going to be doing? But what is he going to be doing? Where is he going? He wants to go to Pythios, but he knows that that's not a huge time pressure. So he could just leave the city and give up on Zil. But I kind of think he actually wants to know. I think he's invested. So it's an interesting one. He doesn't have other party members pulling him in different directions. He doesn't have party members going, oh, let's rob the Heroes Guild here in the town, or let's go and investigate the old Griffin Roost. There isn't that chaos. So the focus is on the story. So in the tavern, when he arrived in the tavern and was looking for clues on Zil, I had debated, did I want him to find Zil in this episode or not? And I kind of felt like, not yet. We can ratchet it up a little bit. I am very cognizant of the fact that I cannot string this along too much longer. I really cannot string this along too much longer, because otherwise frustration is going to set in on Brian's behalf. It's like, well, are we ever going to find this freaking person? And I know as a player in some games that I've played where you never seem to get to the end goal. There's always something that's in the way. There's always, you're 1 day behind. Now, I purposely made it that they were a day behind and that they left this morning. And so he's close. If he spends the night, by the following morning, he might be able to catch up if they take the road that these guys took. So I think next week will be where he finds Zill. Now, again, the reason why I put blood under the carpet was to raise the stakes. Why is there blood under the carpet? Why? Whose blood is it? Is it elvish blood? Is it human blood? I don't think he has medicine high enough to be able to determine that. But yes, blood is always going to add tension. Like, whoa, where did the blood come from, right? And I will mull over it this week, whether it is Zill's blood or one of the elves' blood. And every time I interact with Brian, it's only for an hour. And I really wish it was for longer. Because we don't socialize outside of the game. The time zones are just impossible. He's based in Hong Kong. And I kind of go, well, what do I feel is right for the story? I know what's next in the story. The death cult will approach young Raj when he arrives in Pythios and say that they've heard about his actions in the life cult and that they want his help. That's the next major plot point. So we're in that space where at the moment we're kind of just guiding ourselves forward. If I go to the map of where we are, we're down here. Now, this is in-world Anvil, as you can see, with these wonderful pins. So we're here in Nexi, in this central region. And he wants to go to Pythios, which is right here. It's right here, so it's not far. So I reckon we could probably have him trace the elves until this T-junction. And either catch up with them, or, and this is what I suspect actually, is that he will find a clue that they have gone into the Tolomos Mountains. Because the Tolomos Mountains, I think, is a fun place. We can have a good old-fashioned dungeon crawl where he discovers that Zill and the elves have actually been captured or something. I don't know. I'll think about it. And they do their thing. Then they all get escorted to Pythios, and then he can get his gemstone. This is where it's going to be interesting. Once he has that Alexandrite, is he going to sail home or is he going to continue on? Now, the death cult is going to call him away. Because magicians and logic cult live in Pythios, right? So the death cult is going to call him away. There's no doubt about it. Where, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't planned out that adventure yet. I haven't had need to until we get him. But will he go to the death cult or will he sail back out into the Casefero Gulf and away back home? In which case then we assess and look, or will he continue? I think he's going to continue, though. I think he's having too much fun. So I think he's going to follow that. Luke Andrews says he thinks he's going to go home straight away. Let's see. I think that could certainly work. So maybe we should place a bet. I don't know. Luke Andrews says, one of the reasons I enjoy this series is the difference between your GMing style and his play style. Expand on that, Luke. I wish you could expand on that because I'd love to know your thoughts on that. AK Rider says, if you wish you could go for more than an hour, why can't you? Can you ask Brian for half an hour more or an hour more? He's playing at 2 a.m. in the morning until 3 a.m. in the morning. And it's an unfair bet, Luke, because I can control the universe. I am the GM here. So you want to leave Pythios? All the ships have been sunk. There's a kraken in the bay. But yes, I will take a friendly wager. A friendly wager as to where he's going. Yeah, playing for more than an hour. You know, the other thing, of course, as well, is that it is a one-on-one game, and it can be quite taxing to run a game for more than an hour with a solo player and to keep the pacing going, because like this is our first cooldown time. To a degree. But let's see. I don't know if Brian would want to go for more. I could ask him and see. At the same time, though, I'm quite I enjoy the 1 hour mark. I am enjoying the 1 hour mark. So it's cool downtime. Yeah. So he's got some downtime. He can explore this little town if he wants to. He's got the night. Or he might leave straight away now that he's found the blood. He might hasten on after them. So there we are. And Mark Hayworth, he does know about the other cults because we chatted about the other cults when he was creating his character. Did he want to be life cult or blood cult or logic or nature or element or time, etc., etc.? So he does know about them, or at least he knew of them. Whether he remembers them or not, I don't know. So there we are. Captain Price says just reuse the mini quests you had around the Ganamos rivers. So mini quests, yes, I did have them plotted out. These were little mini quests that I threw up. To be perfectly honest with you, I actually wouldn't do that. I would create some more pins over here because who says that this is the only time I'm going to use this particular map and play with Brian only? And if he comes back this way, I've still got those quests there. So to make up more is really, really, really simple. It's not difficult at all. And then it kind of does all of the work for me. So, yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? No, I think that's it. So, yeah, all in all, it was a pretty fun session, pretty straightforward session. He nearly died. I love that when that happens, by the way, because it kind of gets the players to go, whoa, I don't have enough hit points. This is tricky. Maybe I need to plan a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe that's actually what I should do, is when he's about to rescue Zill, I think he should have the opportunity of making a plan rather than just charging in headlong. See if that is something that he likes to do or not. That's also something to bear in mind, is that he might not want to plan. He might just want to charge in. I have to adjust my gaming style slightly so that he can just charge in and survive. It is give and take. So anyway. All right, folks, that's it from me. Whoop, that's it from me for tonight. Misclick there. I will be back with you tomorrow for Mercs of Mischief. It's a very early call if you're not in the UK. It's a very early call. Spirit Wolf 13 says, what happened to the other horse? It's a great question. Yep, it's a great question. What happened to the other horse? Oof, we forgot it. We forgot about the other horse. Yeah, Alexi did have another horse. That is true. So there is 2 options. I think the option I'm going to take is to simply say to Brian, look, we all forgot about the horse. It was there. The boat thing wasn't a major thing. Rather that than saying, no, well, the horse was given to the lizard folk in exchange for the boat. Why would that happen? So, yeah, the horse was forgotten. A dinner, says Mark Kayworth. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no. They can have their horse. I think that makes sense. So yeah, all right, there we go. I've got Mercs of Mischief live tomorrow on that Twitch channel, Mercs of Mischief. So if you want to join in that, that's a lot of fun. Oh yeah, maybe the horse has sworn eternal vengeance for being neglected. I like that. The little horse that swore vengeance. That sounds like an interesting title, doesn't it? Otherwise, I will see you on Sunday for live sessions with a GM. Join me for that one. I don't have any guests this week, so it will just be your questions being answered about role-playing. Anyway, enough from me. I have to now go and find food because I need dinner. And it has been a pleasure having you in chat and chatting with you. I really do enjoy it. One day, Captain Prices, I will come back into the chaos and craziness that is the Discord chat channel. If you haven't participated yet in the Discord chat, find everybody there at discord.gg/greatgm. Join a wonderful bunch of people. Until then, however, I say to all of you, good night.